Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you are listening to the sound of my voice, that means you are tuned into another episode of Marking Out Amongst Friends, episode 9 in the building. Once again, you know my name. It's your boy, Jay Riddy. And in the building, we also have Lady Great One, Miss Toya, my wonderful, lovely co-host. And tonight we're going to bring a little bit of a recap to the, let's, for lack of a better word, say underwhelming Backlash 2018 pay-per-view. Anybody who got a chance to watch this pay-per-view, I think you could tell that this thing was kind of rushed. They're traveling back from Saudi Arabia from the Greatest Royal Rumble about a week earlier. There was no story to any of the matches. And, it's easy to see why it was lackluster. Toya, what did you think of the whole pay-per-view as a whole? And we'll get into the matches shortly here, but, did it seem just like they were unprepared to you?
Well, actually for me, this was like they had everything prepared for this pay-per-view. Greatest Warrior Rumble was the one that was thrown in. So therefore, that's why this pay-per-view kind of seemed off-kilter, out of place, because they've had Backlash set for months. Greatest Royal Rumble just kind of a spur of the moment, hey, let's do this pay-per-view sort of thing. So it really interrupted some things with the stories and just kind of made no sense with Greatest Royal Rumble. Therefore, it threw off Backlash as well. So we're just getting the backlash from Backlash.
Ha! I see what you did there. Ha! Ha! I don't know. To me, and maybe this is just me, it seemed like it was a little bit, I don't know, forced. And I blamed the Greatest Royal Rumble just because of the travel time. It's probably not a lot of time to get to prep for any of these matches. So I really gave the pay-per-view the benefit of the doubt. After watching it live and going hard, I sat back and thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give him a pass a little bit on this one, just because of all the situations around it. I don't know if anybody who's listening to the show actually watched the pay-per-view, but we're going to, kind of walk you through some of the things that went on here. It was a very long pay-per-view. This is the first pay-per-view that they had that was integrated. It wasn't one of the big four pay-per-views. So they've done away with the year-long trial of having separate pay-per-views and are back to integrating them. I, for one, am happy that they are doing that, just because I thought that a lot of the pay-per-views that they did for single shows, they had trouble coming up with good storylines outside of the title matches. So now it's like when you integrate a pay-per-view, you get the best from both shows. Not saying the best is going to be top tier every month, but you still get the best of both shows. And I think it's going to force a lot of people to work harder to try to earn that spot and earn that extra check, so to speak. But moving right along, let's start with some of the matches that we have here. We had one pre-show match, which was a women's match for Raw. We had Ruby Riott with the Riott Squad versus Bayley. So I'm gonna let you start this one off. How did you feel about this match?
Well, this match, to me, to be honest with you, I missed most of it. No offense to Bayley or to Ruby Riott. I was too busy cooking dinner during this time, so I really couldn't tell you.
Well, I watched this match from start to finish. It's one of those things where nobody's really invested in the pay-per-view on the pre-show, so I kind of felt bad for both of them at that time frame getting that spot, just because Ruby Riott is a very talented up-and-comer on the main roster right now. And, we talk about the four horsewomen in every, wrestling group, podcast, page, Snap, whatever. social media following that there is. When they talk about women's wrestling, the first thing that they talk about is the four horsewomen. You're going to hear about Bayley. You're going to hear about Sasha Banks. You're going to hear about Charlotte. You're going to hear about Becky Lynch. Now you're going to hear about, Ronda Rousey. You're just now starting to really respect Alexa Bliss, and Nia Jax is now starting her run. So there's a lot of names out there that get a lot of shine, and I think that Ruby Riott is going to, within a year or two, overshadow a lot of those names. But as far as the match itself, the match was a pretty decent match, and another reason why I felt bad that it was on the pre-show. Ruby Riott definitely played to having the Riott Squad out there. They had a lot of interference. Of course, the interference is what ultimately cost Bayley the match and Ruby Riott getting the win. But Ruby Riott, the last two major matches that I've seen her in, they've been letting her get a lot of offense, which makes me feel that WWE is very high on her as well. If I had to give the match a rating, I would probably give it about a 6 out of 10. It was an okay, back and forth. No one really dominated that whole thing, but, like you said, I can't really give it a 9 or a 10 because it wasn't stellar, but it was a decent match. What are your thoughts on Ruby Riott? Have you watched a lot of Ruby Riott matches?
I can say this about Ruby Riott. Where they were going in the direction with Paige as her being the anti-diva, to be honest with you, Ruby Riott is truly the anti-diva next to Shayna Baszler, but that's NXT, but we're talking about the main roster right now. But she's also four horsewomen. Oh my goodness, I can't talk tonight. But once again, different show, different conversation. But Ruby Riott, I think, is more taking on the role of what they wanted to do with Paige and Absolution. With Paige's injury, though, that kind of hindered that. So she is great in the ring. I mean, I really, really like her look. She is very, I love the outfit. The outfit is amazing. She is very ring savvy, and for her to not be in the spotlight that much in singles matches, because she's usually with the other members of the Riott Squad, when she does get her singles matches, she definitely shows that she belongs. And she is definitely the reason why they made it the Riott Squad out of everybody that they could have chosen. So props to Ruby Riott.
Yeah, I mean, I look at her. I agree with everything that you just said. I look at her, and I'm glad when you made the comparison to Paige, I can definitely see it as well. And it's not the fact that just because she's got the kind of goth look going, is really because she's very, very. It's the talent level. She can wrestle. She's an underrated talker. The feud that she had, or the very short-lived feud she had with Charlotte before leaving SmackDown, really got to showcase some of her ability to talk and hold her own on a microphone. So I'm glad that she's there. I'm glad to see her on the main roster. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with her. But I'm also happy that she's in the position right now where she is underrated, because that's going to do nothing but give her a chance to grow and not be quote unquote in the spotlight all the time to establish that growth. She's not like someone like a Nia Jax. Well, Nia Jax is not like most girls anyway, but
She's not like most girls. Okay,
Nia Jax was kind of thrown into the spotlight, and a lot of people say it's because of her being The Rock's cousin and being a part of that famous Samoan family. But I mean, a lot of it also has to do with the pure size. You don't really have a lot of big women in the WWE. So, I mean, the spotlight's been on her since she started with both of those attributes. And because she was green, a lot of people got to pick out her flaws and, critique her and compare her to elite wrestlers and how she's not ready, this, that, and the third. And I think that kind of damaged her in the beginning. But now that she's starting to, proved a lot of the doubters wrong. You're really starting to see what potential that she has. I know I've said it at least on the last two shows with Nia Jax. I can't wait to see her go back to the natural heel role and get a dominant heel run in as a champion. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of green in Ruby Riott, just like everyone saw in Nia, but I'm glad that she's not going to be in the spotlight to be exposed. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say right now, I would say by 2020, Ruby Riott is going to be one of the top women's wrestlers in WWE on the main roster. But I mean, I can't really praise her enough on that. But that's really all.
Bold prediction, sir.
Bold, but I mean, that's just when I see her, that's what I see. And not to mention, like you said, the outfit was really there. I didn't really want to talk much about the outfit because a friend of mine, when we were watching the show, kind of pointed out there was almost a malfunction. I'm not going to go into detail. I promise you I'm not a perv. Sometimes I am, I'm not going to lie. But I wasn't perving in this moment.
You're a man. You're going to look. Regardless, you're a man. You're going to look.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't perving in this moment. It was just brought to my attention. But yeah, I really like Ruby Riott a lot, and I know we spent a lot of time talking about this match, but I just really can't state enough how big of a fan that I am of her and how she's proven herself in those two, few test matches that she's had with some of the top women in the company. Moving right along, after the pre-show, I was the only pre-show of the match. The show opened up like a pay-per-view is supposed to open up. And when we saw the match for the Intercontinental title with Seth Rollins versus The Miz, these two absolutely brought the house down. 20-minute match. First of all, last month we started kind of seeing them as the Professor John Gotti would say, front load the pay-per-view, put a lot of the better matches ahead to kind of warm the show up, to start the show up. And this match didn't disappoint. It was very great back and forth. A lot of close near falls. The Miz getting to show a lot of what he doesn't usually get to show because they have him as the cowardly heel. Everybody always says that he wrestles like a coward and he can't wrestle and blah, blah, blah. But then he goes out and they bring the entire house down. I'm just going to go out there and say it. I mean, if I'm going to give this match a rating, if I haven't given a match a 10 before, I'm going to give this one a 10, at least a 9.5. But I'm going to say this match was great. The Miz hit 2 skull-crushing finales. The way that he worked the leg when Seth Rollins missed the knee on the apron and crashed into the turnbuckle, this was exactly how you were supposed to do a mid-card match. A lot of people talk about the world title matches and, who should be main eventing and things like that. For as long as I've been alive, and anybody that's been watching WWE, even though the major names are what we remember, we always knew that the mid-card matches, the Intercontinental titles, the U.S. title matches were always the best matches. And if anything that I can say about Seth Rollins very well could be in the argument with AJ Styles for the best, not only in WWE, for the best in the world right now. I'm going to say that.
Wow. Once again, sir, you've taken the words clean out of my mouth. This match to me was a 10, but you talked more about Seth, and so I'm going to have to take it more towards the Miz as well. Miz is a ring general. He is a very smart wrestler. He is a very savvy wrestler. He knows where weak points are. He knows how to attack those specific points at those specific times. So in my opinion, that makes him a great wrestler. He may not be the most mat savvy like, say, Daniel Bryan. However, when it comes to being smart and knowing when and where to pick your spots, that's exactly what he does. And Miz never fails to disappoint me when it comes to something like that. Not to mention, he's like one of the best on the mic. He is definitely my top 3 when it comes to mic work of all time. So that's pretty high up there. And just to throw this out there, if you follow us on the Game Runners, Miz did make a point. I'm sorry to take away from the match, which, by the way, was incredible. I will give that a 10. But let me go ahead and squeeze this in real quick before I forget. But Miz said that on a pay-per-view, there is no reason why your main title is not the main event. So that means maybe he's making a vie for that heavyweight title and want to bring that back into the spotlight, because the order of this pay-per-view is really what got to me. And Roman and Joe should not have been the main event. It should have been Shinsuke and AJ if Brock is holding the title hostage. That's just my opinion, and Miz obviously agrees. And are we still here? You hear me? All right, I guess I'm doing this thing by myself at the moment. We got a little technical difficulties. All right, got a little technical difficulties here. So the next match we're going to talk about is going to be the Raw Women's Championship match between Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. Nia and Alexa, they are definitely bringing the whole Be a Star anti-bullying campaign back to the forefront. This is something they haven't done too much of as of late, talking about their campaign for stand up against bullying and don't be a bully, be a star, and have Nia close out the match with that little monologue that she did there. That was actually really, really nice. But anyway, let me get into a little bit more further details about this. This match to me was really I'm going to give this one a 6. I mean, Alexa was being thrown around like a little rag doll for the good majority of the match. But when Nia had a few mistakes, couple missteps, Alexa came in and swooped in like a vulture. She was all over her. It was, to me, really, really good back and forth there. Alexa shows her ruthlessness and how willing she is to, like, not only endanger herself, but just to do whatever she can to survive, because how else would a 4 foot nothing, like barely 100 pounds soaking wet with 2 bricks in each hand, be able to do anything against a female beast, as I say, like Nia Jax, or the irresistible force? That's even better. It was a little sad towards the end, watching Alexa sit down there and cry, but I don't know if it's kayfabe or not, but she did get injured on this match. So I don't wish any ill harm on anybody, so I really do hope that Alexa will be okay, and we will have the goddess back in action pretty soon. You got to give me a second. I'm not used to going solo on this, so forgive me if I'm just rambling on and on and on. I got to get my card back up. I forget who the next match was. Chris, can you hear me? Can I get the next card on the match, please? Guys, just give me 1 second here. Like I said, we're having a couple of technical difficulties here, so bear with me 1 moment, guys. Yeah, I hate dead air too. I know, and this just makes it all the much worse. But On a side note, I would like to say I greatly appreciate everyone who is active on our Facebook page, The Game Runners. Um, it really, really means a lot to us. We put a lot of thought and effort into our pages and into our podcast. And we want to thank each and every one of you for being out there and supporting us and following us here on Marking Out Amongst Friends. Um, I know the, the professor and the doc aren't here with us tonight. Jay Riddy is having a couple of technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on there, but we do greatly appreciate each and every one of y'all support. Um, all right, I just got an update from Chris, the tech guy. We're still trying to get Jay Riddy on the line, but the next match on the card was the U.S. Championship match between Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. Now, I know WWE doesn't really do much when it comes to like the tail of the tape, because I saw something on WWE.com that kind of, like struck me as funny. So they're listing their height and weight. I did not know that Randy Orton was 6'5" and 250. I always thought he was 6'4", 6'3", about 215, 225 max. Maybe put on a little extra pounds. Maybe that wifey is feeding him good. I don't know. Or maybe we just know we were built high, so we're going to stay high. Either way, let me get back to the match here. Jeff Hardy has always been one of my absolute favorites. I really, really love his in-ring work. When he's not drunk against Sting, we will take that one out. Just sorry guys, that did happen. But other than those few times where he was really too messed up to technically be performing, the man is amazing. I mean, he can go ground and pound, but he's more the high flyer. Matt was more the ground and pound when they were together. But this match, to me, Orton is so slow and so methodical and tries to pick up the pace against him. He likes to slow it right back down, bring it back to his level. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. Sorry, I had a little voice in the ear. Okay. Yeah, so this match was not as good to me as the Intercontinental Championship was. So I'm going to give this one about a 5. Just because, I mean, we know who's in it. There wasn't much build up between them two, but then again, I think the Greatest Royal Rumble did kind of throw a monkey wrench into Backlash. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. That's why I'm not a lot more cool, or should I say a lot more high on this. But it is what it is. So the next match on the card is actually not even a match. This was the, hey, everybody, come out here if you've got nothing to do. Let's interrupt Elias time. And that's exactly what happened. There were spots after spots after spots of the... Oh, sorry, I just got another update in. Jay Rich just lost some power. I don't know if he'll be back on with us, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue to move forward. And if you can jump back in.
I'm back in there.
Jump back in as soon as you can. Oh, you're back.
I'm back. I do apologize. I'm having some technical difficulties here. I don't know if anybody knows me outside of the group, but I posted a picture earlier. We had a hailstorm up here about an hour ago, and my power is flashing on and off right now. So it's definitely causing some bad technical difficulties here. As you know, my Wi-Fi shut off just then. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn that off right now.
All right. Well, it's glad to have you back there, sir. I don't know how well I carried the show. I don't know if I bored everybody to sleep with my piss poor solo analysis. I'm no Corey Graves, but I damn sure ain't Michael Cole, or even worse, what's his name, Byron Saxton? Should I say?
I'm gonna tell you right now. I thought that you guys were the ones that had disconnected. And I thought, no, I've been talking the whole time. I've been giving ratings that nobody's been hearing, evidently. So
I've been over here. I've been running my mouth trying to get a hold of you. But things happen like that. Technical difficulties will occur, and like I said before, we appreciate your patience with us while we get everything back together. But I've fast forwarded through a couple of the matches here, so if you want to go ahead and give your quick recap, because I'm just talking about the bedlam that was Elias. But if you want to go ahead and give your thoughts on the previous matches, the Raw Women's Championship and the United States Championship, go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and jump right back into where I was previously. So I believe before we started having our technical difficulties, we were talking about the Seth Rollins versus The Miz match. And you were telling us how much of Miz should get credit for this match. And I said that with The Miz, you were saying he was a ring general. And I definitely agree. One of the things that I've always said is that The Miz has, quote unquote, great ring psychology. And not in the sense of ring psychology when you're talking about guys like AJ Styles or, even Seth Rollins. It's more so of Miz wrestles within his means. He wrestles within his moveset. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. It's not always about getting the best spot, about getting the high-flying maneuver, about all the chain wrestling, all the technical ability. It's a combination of just hitting a spot that can swing the crowd one way or another. And Miz plays a lot to the emotion of the crowd, and I definitely love his style of wrestling. Been a fan of The Miz since he started. I think he's quite underrated in the ring. But I know we've spent a lot of time on that match. Did you guys review the Nia Jax Alexa Bliss match?
Sorry. Yeah, I did do my brief overview of it. It's probably not worth listening to, so I'm going to let you just go ahead and roll solo and give your thoughts on this particular match here.
I rated that match about a 4.5, maybe a 5 out of 10. I like Nia Jax. I like Alexa Bliss. I can definitely tell that they're best friends on and off screen. And they definitely have chemistry. The problem with the two is that I don't believe the offense that Alexa Bliss hits, which Nia let Alexa get a lot of offense in, being the heel and, trying to come back and from adversity and come back with the come from behind victory. And it's not believable when you're the biggest woman, you're the biggest woman on the roster and you're facing the smallest woman on the roster. It doesn't work. I can say that Nia's gotten tremendously better in the ring. I can't wait to see her turn heel. And I can't say that enough. She's better than I thought she would be as a face, but I mean, she's a natural heel. And we got to see her with a dominant run before she drops that title.
Okay, but to go back and to say another thing that I did not mention when I was talking before the technical difficulties was this to me. Nia just turned face, mind you. Literally. So I think we're going to get a little while more of the face Nia than what you're thinking about when it comes to having a nice heel turn. But then again, who's she really going to feud with as a heel or as a face? Who's going to be her next feud?
I mean, it's an overload of face women's wrestlers right now. Other than the Riot Squad, You know, pretty much Alexa Bliss and Mickie James are the only worthwhile women's heels on the show. So unless you're going to go ahead and pull the plug on Ruby Riott, which, you know, she's still green. I love her. Great wrestler, but I don't know if I want to put her in that spotlight just yet. I think that you should go ahead and turn Nia heel. We can see Nia feud. Nia's going to be a natural heel anyway, with going with any of the other women on the roster. She goes against Bayley. Bayley is, of course, the ultimate face. They're going to boo Nia versus Bayley. I'm just going to be honest with that one. They're going to boo Nia in that match. They're going to boo her versus Sasha Banks. They're going to boo her, you know, if she goes one-on-one, hopefully not anytime soon, but if she goes one-on-one with Ronda Rousey, they're going to boo her. You know, they may not boo her if she goes against Natalya, but Natalya is also a face at this point in time. So, I mean, I think that they are very good in the face department right now, and I think that Nia can afford to, you know, they can afford to do a quick, hey, Nia, I'm, you know, speaking up for all the women who've been body shamed all over their lives, and then all of a sudden she turns into the bully that Alexa Bliss says she's been. And I think I think that her character needs that.
Well, I can say this. When you talk about like the amount of faces, I would not boo Nia fighting a heel Sasha. I could not. And she's the one who would need the heel turn more than anybody else. You're going to have the Bayley female John Cena being that, unless somebody makes a return, or, I mean, because right now she's still employed. I don't know if she's actually coming back. I don't know what her injury status is or what show she will be on, but it could be a nice little run there for, you know, Nikki Bella.
I don't know about those Bellas. I don't know what the status. I thought that they might have been injured. I think Bree's retired. Bree's retiring. Chris, can I get somebody to fact check me on that?
Bree did retire, but I did know this one. Bree did retire. However, she has stated in several accounts that she would love to be back in the ring on a more regular basis than usual. So, I mean, even if it's for a specialty match or two, to bring the Bellas back.
Man, of course she want that check. But, I mean, you know, if Daniel Bryan is going to be on the road every day, Bree's going to have to be at home taking care of the baby. Or somebody's going to be at home taking care of the baby. They don't look like the maid nanny type of family, so to speak. I mean, of course, I could be wrong, but I don't see Bree coming back. Now, Nikki, I don't know the status, like you said, of her injury. I don't know how her neck is, if it's something that's serious that's going to keep her out of in-ring competition. But, I mean, Nikki could definitely give a good challenge to Nia Jax. And on paper, a lot of people will probably make fun of that match, but Nikki improved a lot as a striker. And
I mean, you can't help but to improve when you were striking with John Cena for the last 5 years before y'all called it quits. So, yeah, you're definitely going to improve in a lot of areas.
I wonder if he hit a 5-knuckle shuffle.
He's probably, that's right. Wait a minute. I heard the gossip he's with Carmella now. So I don't think he's 5-knuckle shuffling too much.
I heard about that story too. Do you think that's an upgrade? Is that an upgrade? I'm going to ask that question in the Game Runners tonight. By the way, if you guys are on Facebook, follow the Game Runners group. It's an awesome group. Some great admins in that group, if I do say so myself. A lot of good conversation in there. Shouts out to the doc. Shouts out to the professor. Always coming in with great posts as well. Overall, great group. We'll join that group. But I'm going to ask that question in the group later on. Is that an upgrade? Is Carmella truly an upgrade from Nikki Bella?
Younger, thinner. She hasn't been around as much. What?
If you like that kind of thing, I mean, I kind of like my women thicker and a little older. You know what I'm saying? Even though my wife is younger than me.
How you doing?
But I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily an upgrade. A lot of people give Nikki Bella flack, but You know, if I put them side by side and you told me to pick which one that I would want to, wife, I'm probably going to choose Nikki Bella in that situation. I don't know, John. I don't know.
Well, I
I
will
hope
say
that
it like
rumor
this.
touches.
The thing about Carmella is if Carmella were not to be a blonde, if Carmella didn't have any blonde hair whatsoever, because it's not real, because of course they like to make a lot of the women blondes. Mm-hmm. But if Carmella was not a blonde and put her side by side with Nikki Bella, there's a lot of similar features there, actually, to be honest with you. A lot of similarities there. She's not as buff as Nikki. There's a lot of similarities there. I'm just saying. How you doing?
Yeah, I think if she didn't have the blonde hair, she'd be very basic. Like you said, I think that they do that to kind of try to make women, quote unquote, more appealing, which I don't really see how blonde hair is that much more appealing. When they say blondes have much more fun, but
unless you're Mandy Rose. I mean,
I'm not gonna satisfy giving Mandy Rose a comment. Mandy Rose, I'm not a big fan of you. If you ever hear this show, I think you're a quite terrible human being, and I hope you're unsuccessful. But
wow, where did this come from? Hold up, I guess we're gonna have that conversation. But let's go.
I'm not gonna get deep into it, but I'm just Google, and this was even an article on BET of all places. Google Mandy Rose and black woman hair if you guys ever get a time, and look at some of the comments that she made about a black woman's hair on a flight, and then go back and look at some of the comments that she made in a back and forth with young and up and coming NXT star. Gosh, I can't remember her name now. What's my girl with the whip? She whip her hair back and forth and do the
Bianca Belair.
Bianca Belair. Back and forth, she had exchange with but Bianca Belair. She had a back and forth exchange with her on Twitter and had some things to say about hair again, and she just keeps going to that, and I can't get with it. I'm not the one who usually holds people accountable for things like that, but if I'm gonna hate Hogan, I'm gonna hate Mandy Rose too. I don't care if she's fine or not. But I think that I'm getting a little off track here, so just to bring it back a little bit, I'll go back to.
But you just kept going with it, so I'll just let you roll. I'll let you roll there. I'll let you roll, brother.
You can't just be talking to me about Mandy Rose out of nowhere like that. I wasn't prepared. But moving on right along to the next match in the card, we had Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. Just like the previous match, I'm going to give this one probably maybe a 5, at the most a 5.5 out of 10. It was a very slow-paced match, which you expect that out of, guys who've been veterans as long as both of them. Jeff Hardy has been wrestling in and out of the WWE since the mid-90s, since his late teenage years. So I'm not sure how old Jeff is right now. I want to say he's in his late 30s, early 40s. Somebody can fact check me on that as well. But when this match, very slow paced, the positive things that I can say about this match are really all on Randy Orton, honestly. Randy Orton was hitting some vintage, very spot on, high altitude drop kicks in that match. A, and B, Randy Orton has been underrated as far as what he's done to enhance talent and to put talent over the last few years. I think a lot of people want to think about the whole back and forth, the feud that he had with Bray Wyatt, and want to judge that whole time frame on that, which, it's not really fair, because I can say that Randy Orton definitely put over many another guy. If we want to talk about your Daniel Bryant's, even Mark Henry, Randy Orton gave Mark Henry his first main roster, SmackDown or Raw championship. He was the world heavyweight champion because Randy Orton took the loss. Not only he took the loss there, Randy Orton put over guys like Jack Swagger Young in their career as well. So a lot of people talk about Randy Orton, about what he does and how he's a diva, and he's past the 3 strikes and why is he still there. Randy Orton does a lot to enhance other talent. He's gotten titles here and there, but he does a lot to enhance other talent, and it's just cool to see him give up the clean loss to Jeff in this match.
Excuse me, I did want to go in and let you know that Jeff Hardy is 40 years old. As of August 31st, he will be 41. Just wanted to toss that in there. So, yeah, he's been going since the early 90s. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1993, to be honest with you. I mean, at the right young age of, I want to say it was about 16.
16 or 17. I think, wasn't the story that the Hardy Boys lied about their age or something to get into the dark match, and they got a dark match, and I think they got the heck beat out of them by like Razor Ramon or something. If I remember that story correctly.
That is correct. I do remember hearing that story as well, and it was Jeff who had to lie about his age. Matt is a couple years older, so therefore I think Jeff was around 15 at the time. I don't know Yeah, he had just turned 16, sorry. He just turned 16 at the time. So it was Jeff who had to lie about his age in order to really be in there and get between the ropes. So Jeff did lie about his age there to make himself a little bit older. But on that note,
I don't understand that, though. I mean, I understand it. I mean, it's frowned upon to have a young guy out there wrestling. But, I mean, in my mind, in my opinion, if you're 16 and you can stand in the ring with grown men and you can pass for a grown man, I don't really see the problem, so to speak. I mean, the same injuries are going to be at risk if you're 16, if you're 18, so to speak. So I don't get it. I think that NXT had an issue with the girl, or either the main roster had an issue with a girl jobbing out to someone about a year or so ago that was underage. And, she was under fire for that. And I'm like, well, I mean, if she can wrestle, I mean, who cares? Paige has been wrestling since she was 16 professionally. So, I mean, if everybody starts young. If you can go, you can go, so to speak. I don't know. Don't get me to get off topic again. I mean, I'll sit here and I can talk wrestling with everybody all night, and I'll get off task. So, moving right along, Daniel Bryan, Big Cass. How do you feel about that match?
Okay, Daniel Bryan, Big Cass. The typical underdog story of Daniel Bryan came into play once again. Outmatched, really just outsized and outmatched here in the eyes of the beholder. But this man is quintessentially one of the best grapplers and submission that WWE has to offer. So this was a no-brainer that he was actually going to win. Yes, I know I did pick Big Cass to win this spot in my prediction show, but of course somebody had to do it. Somebody had to go against the grain there. Even though I knew in my heart of hearts I was going to be wrong, which I was, and I have no problem admitting defeat. But that's what Swerve Curves all about. #, Swerves and Curves.
I love the hashtag. But I the same situation, I said the same thing. I expected for there to be a Big Cass upset in this one. And, you pick some right, you pick some wrong. Even in a loss, I'm really appreciative of Big Cass's effort. I think he's a future, top heel, so to speak. I was worried that he wouldn't have the mic skills to be able to carry himself after them breaking up, him and Enzo. I hoped that they would get back together at one point in time, and then the whole situation with Enzo happened and he got fired. So then I was like, well, what are they going to do with Cass? How's Cass going to, handle himself? And, he's proven to handle himself very well on the main roster. So big ups to Cass. I think he's a future champion. Like I was saying about Ruby Riott earlier, I think give it about a year or so, Big Cass could be a top star in the company. He could definitely be a top star. I've always liked him in the ring, but now he's starting to show a little character. and develop his character a little more. And I think the sky's the limit for him.
Well, I mean, there are some big guys who can move in WWE. I mean, two immediately come to mind when you talk about big men who can move. Baron Corbin is one, and Braun Strowman is obviously the other one. But Big Cass actually moves very well for a man his size as well. So you got to add another one to the list, because we're not getting these great big men anymore that are lumbering, barely can walk to the ring like Great Khali.
Mm-hmm.
And so at least we're getting some athletic big guys. We've got guys who don't look like they should be as athletic as they are, i.e. Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. But then, of course, you're always going to have your small guys who like love to fly around the ring and you can't hold them down, but you like to shoot them out of the air with somebody, and that's what Big Cass does very well. So I like that the fact that he is not just a slow lumbering giant.
Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the things that I like about him, I spotlighted last week Jinder Mahal bringing back the Yakuza kick. Big Cass has a really good running big boot. I didn't really know if I was going to like it at first because, most big guys do a running big boot. There's a lot of people that really still do it. Charlotte does it every now and then. Braun might hit you with one out of nowhere every now and then. But Big Cass probably has the best running big boot that I've seen since Test. Rest in peace, Test, by the way. Test Andrew Martin, taken from his very young age, very much too soon. But Big Cass he's got something with that. And I was saying to myself that he had to get rid of that whole Empire Elbow thing. And that's definitely a good replacement finisher for it. But then again, I'm one of those guys where I don't care about people recycling moves as long as they look believable. So I mean, big ups to Cass for that one. I'm an avid player of WWE 2K18, so the next time I play, I'm probably going to give that to him as one of his finishes. And
the other thing about the match, it was actually not the match itself, because of course this is Daniel Bryan's first actual singles pay-per-view match since he's been cleared, and rightfully so. I mean, it was against the man whose spotlight he took when he came back from being cleared, because once again, I talked about this before, they got cleared on the same day. So that's a great legitimate reason to make a good feud. Was the fact that Big Cass went on and attacked him after the match and then beat the brakes off of him and tried to break him in half and try to put him back on the shelf for another 3 years. I saw that coming after he tapped out so quickly. And then, of course, the crowd was into it, yelling, "You tapped out, you tapped out." And, of course, you can't handle a loss very well if you're a big guy and you're a heel. And, I mean, he just threw a nice heel Kevin Owens style tantrum to me.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
If you can pull off a tantrum as good as Kevin Owens can, then you're doing it right. That's all I was going to say.
Absolutely. I definitely 100% agree there. I think Big Cass is going to be one of those guys that the fans give a lot of hell to right now, but they're going to come around to Cass. I say maybe even as fast as 6 months, you may see the crowd start turning and becoming fans of Big Cass. But go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's the whole like Baron Corbin thing. I think that Baron Corbin is like absolute great in that spot, but that's also a different story, different show. So let's just go ahead and continue, please.
Well, I'll give him credit before I move along, because everybody knows how much of a Baron Corbin hater I am. And Baron Corbin has really done a lot to improve all around as well. A lot of his mic work has improved. He's hitting his spots in good spots, and he's nailing them when they come up. So I'll definitely give Baron Corbin a lot of credit on his improvement. Is he still not one of my favorites? Yeah, he's not one of my favorites on the roster. I still don't see like a heavyweight champion in him. I didn't really like his mid-card title run before, but maybe if they revisit that again in a few months, it could be different a little bit. He didn't necessarily strike me as someone that was, hitting it out of the park with that character, so to speak. But he's definitely doing a lot of improving. But we will move right along on this next one. The next match on the roster that we have here from Backlash is going to be the SmackDown Women's title. We talked briefly about Carmella earlier in the show about her whole rumored dating John Cena and if she is or not an upgrade from Nikki Bella. However, what she's not an upgrade from definitely is champion as from the likes of someone like Charlotte. And I know that's not really fair. It's not really fair, so to speak. And it really has nothing to do with her character. I love Carmella's character. Like, if Carmella could be the women's champion and not have to wrestle, I would be completely 100% okay with that, because her as a character, her mic work, it's funny. Like, it's comical. She's like the comical heel. She knows that she's got like the annoying voice and she plays to it. And I love that. Like, I eat that up. But as far as that match goes, that was not a great match from those two. Even with Charlotte being in that match, I'm not going to give a high rating to that one. Go ahead. What are your comments on this one?
I was going to say, well, considering how Charlotte is injured, ruptured boob job, I mean, that's definitely got to hurt. And I wonder if some of those kicks she was taking by Mella actually had something to do with her implant rupturing. But so that could have definitely hindered Charlotte's performance in this match. This was not one of her better matches. But then again, her opponent wasn't like the great caliber opponent that we're used to seeing from Charlotte. I mean, we got Carmella as the champ right now, and she had to come in and steal it by the Iconics helping. And by the way, if you watch the pre-show, let me say this. The Iconics are so annoying. Oh my God, they are annoying. But it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's definitely brilliant. I was going to say, it's the same that I feel with Carmella, and I feel like they're going to end up pairing them up, which is going to be awesome. But, they play their characters really well. Like, they really know how to be so annoying that you borderline really seriously hate them. Like, oh my God, I wish I could, like, just
jump through the TV and slap them.
You know what I'm saying? I can't say that. That's very much frowned upon against for, male on female.
For you.
You know what I'm saying? So I'll let you take that portion. But, it's just one of those people you wish you could just permanently mute them. The Iconics and Carmella are really nailing that gimmick. And once again, if that can be a stable and she goes through and she's, they're backing her up and give her a long title run with their various interferences every month, I am 100% fine with that. I want to say, because Paige is now general manager, that I think that Absolution is broken up. So he mentioned that other one who shall remain nameless earlier in the show. And I think that Sonya Deville, has she debuted yet since the breakup of Absolution? Has she debuted on SmackDown yet?
As far as I know, the only one who had a match so far as a singles star, so to speak, was Mandy Rose herself getting the match against Becky Lynch. I don't know if that was for the Money in the Bank match or what, but I do know that Sonya was barred from ringside. So
yeah, I think I don't know how much they're going to keep up with the Absolution, being that Paige is, no longer, part of the stable. So if they do break up that stable, that'll be a perfect time to put together another heel stable with, Carmella and the Iconics, so to speak. And maybe even eventually with Peyton Royce or Billie Kay turning on her after a long reign. But I think I said this last week before their match. I see Carmella kind of being the new Alexa Bliss, so to speak. She's not really the one that you look for a lot of wrestling out of, but it's one of those people that you're giving the spotlight to them, and they're taking advantage of every moment right now. And they're gonna quote unquote ride it till the wheels fall off. But I think Carmella is definitely a major heel, and she's gonna draw major heel heat as champion. But as far as the match goes, I'm gonna give that one, just like the women's match earlier in the night, I'm gonna give that one probably a 4.5, maybe a 5 out of 10. Wasn't the best match, wasn't the worst match, but do I want to see it again anytime soon? No. And because Charlotte's injured, I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. Moving right along, just so I know I've gotten off topic a lot here. We're going to go to the WWE Championship match. No disqualification, no DQ match with AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I just got one question for you, Lady Great One. Do you think that this feud is living up to the quote-unquote hype that everybody surrounded it with beforehand?
No. This is not the same thing that they had in New Japan. This is not the same style of storylines that they have. I do love the fact that Shinsuke Nakamura is definitely playing up to the typical no speak English sort of quote unquote Asian role. I just got to say it that way. It's a quote unquote thing because I don't think that they're trying to be any sort of like racist or anything like that, or stereotypical, should I say, not really racist, but stereotypical. But he does it well. But my only thing is, when it comes to strong style, it's nothing but a bunch of kicks and knees and punches and strikes. It's a lot of heavy strikes. So I guess that's really why this hasn't really lived up to the hype, because it's not actually more of a wrestling match more than it should be like a MMA style match. You know what I mean? Because you got one of the best wrestlers in the business, period. One of the easiest guys to work with, period, in AJ Styles. And him and Shinsuke Nakamura, this more or less should be in an octagon, not in the squared circle. That's just my opinion on it. So I don't think that this has really lived up to the quote-unquote dream match that they've thrown out every 5 minutes on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree. If I'm going to say, if I ask myself the question, is this living up to the hype? It's going to be a definite no. Like you said, it's not New Japan. They're not wrestling strong style. So it's like, AJ Styles, he can strike. But, Shinsuke Nakamura is the king of striking. And, there are a lot of great matches that come from strong style. Like, if you watch anybody that watches NXT, you watch a match with Aleister Black, the strikes are ridiculous. The match that he had with Hideo Itami, ridiculous. The match that he just had before with
Andrade Cien Almas.
Cien Almas was a great match. But there was a match that was before that. Maybe it was against Adam Cole. But it was, even with the one with Cien Almas, a lot of those matches are mainly strikes and very hard shots, and they're still very entertaining matches. For some reason, I just don't get that from Shinsuke in any match. I've not seen a great Shinsuke Nakamura match since his debut against Dolph Ziggler on the main roster. That's the last great match that I've seen Shinsuke Nakamura in. You know what? No. That's a lie. I'm gonna take that back. The only 2 matches that I've seen Shinsuke Nakamura really great in on the main roster was the debut match against Dolph Ziggler last year and the match against Rusev at the pay-per-view a few months ago.
Well, I actually have to throw one more in there, because that match that he did against Cena, that was actually really good to me for a Tuesday night SmackDown. That was actually a good match, even though Cena damn near got his neck broke again. But
I think that's the only reason I cared about that match. I think that's the only reason I cared about that match, because that back suplex spot really stuck out, and the fact that he beat Cena clean stuck out. But as far as what happened in the match, it's not one of my favorite matches from Shinsuke. And I don't really have much favorite matches from Shinsuke. Like I said, I'm not really that super impressed with what he's done. I really like his character as a heel. He's awesome as a heel, and I think the heel turn made him more championship caliber than the original, King of Strong Style gimmick that he debuted on the main roster. So, but like you said, AJ Styles just seemed like everybody should be able to work well with AJ Styles, especially someone who's known AJ Styles for so long and has worked with him for so long. And I'm not even going to talk about the finishes of the matches that they've had because I know that's not their fault. That's booking. But just the matches themselves that they've had are very lackluster, and I'm very disappointed in both of them. I don't know if we're going to get this match again. If so, I really want the next match to kind of wow me a little bit. I feel like I'm being a little demanding here, but I mean, this, like you said, this is the dream match that we all wanted to see, and it's turning into borderline a nightmare right now. I don't know, man. Those guys got to get on the ball.
I'm sorry. I can say this, though. When it comes to this whole dream match, they've actually thrown it out there so much that it has become a nightmare because every 20 seconds they're saying dream match, dream match, dream match, dream match. So, yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it was like, okay, we're getting all hyped up for this. And now that we've had this match, what's this now, Nate? Make 3?
Mm-hmm.
This is the 3rd match of the series. Are we going to do a best of 7? Please no. I'm sorry. I will have to say please no on this one. Because right now, I'm starting to get a little like antsy. I'm like, okay, let somebody else come up. Let somebody else take away the attention of the champ. That's why I'm very, very, very anxious to see who is going to end up winning the Money in the Bank and who will be facing for which title that is. Because, since it's on both pay-per-views, both titles will be up for grabs. Like we were hoping that it was going to be with Carmella, but that didn't happen. But what I can say this as well, they have got to give us something more because Brock is not there on a regular basis. I think a lot of people's win have been taken out of this because AJ Styles has not main evented one single pay-per-view in a very long time, especially none of the big ones. So this is kind of like, okay, you're pushing your main champion who's defended it every single damn pay-per-view to the back burner. That's where it kills me. So I think that's a part of the problem with this whole feud.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree. AJ Styles is one of those guys to where, of course, we want to see him main event. Not just because of his talent levels, but this is like, you still think about him being there, and it's like, this guy's not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to be in WWE. We never expected this coming, in a million years, and here he is. And his talent level, shows that he doesn't really have to main event. I mean, anywhere on the card he's on, he's liable to be the best match of the night. And I think that I wouldn't be as frustrated if the matches that he's had with Shinsuke haven't been lackluster. I mean, for God's sakes, he didn't have any time to prepare for a match with Finn Balor, and they tore the house down in one match. He's had 3 with Shinsuke, and none of them have been worth the hype. And it's to the point now where it's like, if they do, they're gonna have to work that much harder to have a great match. And it's hard. It's kind of funny to say that about AJ Styles because he doesn't usually have to work hard to have a great match. But they're making it to where they're gonna have to work hard to have a great match to cap this feud off. If they have another one. If not, this is going to be probably my biggest disappointment of 2018. And that's saying a lot. But, moving right along to the next one, I think that we'll probably see some development into that feud. I think we are going to get another match out of that one at Money in the Bank. But moving right along to the next match, the tag team match, Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Yeah. If I'm going to rank this one, if I'm going to rank this one out of the matches that occurred that night, this could be, if not the worst match of the card, it's going to be a tie for the worst match of the card. And it's nothing against any of the superstars in the match, so to speak. It's just that the match made no sense. Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley as a tag team make no sense. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn feuding with these guys make no sense. And the match itself, I mean, other than the couple of spots of Braun Strowman, pouncing through Kevin Owens and throwing Sami Zayn around, there was nothing really left to talk about in that match after that. I mean, if I'm going to give this match a rating, this is going to give me a 4. I'm giving a solid 4 to that match. There's not really much else to say about it. I mean, I'm glad it only went 8 minutes. I mean, it I don't know if I said this before. It just doesn't make sense. That's all I can say about that match. What did you think about that one?
What? A song just came to mind on this one. So wake me up when it's all over. Yeah. Bocce Lashley and Braun Strowman, I completely agree. It does make no sense. Yeah, it's great to have him back in there. It's another big, huge guy who can't talk. It looks like he's got a ton of ring rust with the most over guy in the damn business right now, who doesn't need a tag team partner. Really, he's proven that on many occasions against two former world champions. Oh, I take that back. Cesaro was never world champion, even though he should have been. But yeah, technically, yes, too, because Kevin Owens has been a world champion. By the way, he needs his damn rematch. I'm pissed off about that shit. That's a different subject, but I'll get on that another time. But yeah, this is a 3. I'm sorry. 3. Done.
It's one of those situations where it's sorry, but not sorry. Next match on the card, the main event. I know this is the one that everybody has been talking about since the pay-per-view. Roman Reigns defeated Samoa Joe in the main event. A lot of people were upset with the outcome of this match. And I was upset with the outcome of this match. Not the fact that Roman won, more so of the fact of there was some... the selling from Roman in this match was not great. And really the one spot that kind of pissed me off a little bit in that match when I first watched it was the second coquina clutch when he grabbed him from the shotgun dropkick and pulled him in the ring and wrapped him up. And it looked like Roman Reigns had passed all the way out and the ref was going to ring the bell. And then he just wakes up out of nowhere like he's running late for work. Like, you ever have that sleep that you're just getting some dangerously good sleep and you just wake up really fast like, oh my God, what time is it? Like, that was the look that Roman Reigns had when he got up and grabbed the ropes out of the coquina clutch. And it was funny, but it wasn't funny. And I'm like, okay, that didn't really make sense. Now, the spot where he was on the top rope and he flipped over Samoa Joe and rolled to the other corner and came back with the spear, I think that was a great spot. I'm not mad at that spear, but Samoa Joe had all the reason in the world to win that match. And I'm not a Roman hater at all. I really like Roman Reigns. I'm not the biggest fan of Roman Reigns in the world, but I like Roman. I defend Roman probably more than I should. But yeah, that match Samoa Joe needed that match. He needed that win. He needed to carry that momentum into SmackDown. And the way that it finished, I think, upset a lot of people. And it put a lot of heat towards Roman Reigns that he didn't need because he already has enough. And it makes me wonder, like, really what the direction they're going to go in with Roman now.
And it also makes me wonder what direction you're going to go with Joe. Because, as you were saying, Joe should have been the victor here. Joe should have had that momentum. He's the one who got drafted there, not Roman. It would have been better if they would have took Roman and put him on SmackDown. To be honest with you, I mean, that was the person who I felt should have been one of the people that got moved in the shakeup. But of course, you know, they're not going to move the big dog. I mean, like, he's the face, so they want to keep him in his place, and this was his yard in Raw, and so on and so forth, and blah, 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 blah. And yes, I am a Roman fan, so this is coming truly from somebody who has always loved Roman Reigns.
And that's terrible because you're a Roman fan. I'm not a huge fan per se. I like Roman. And for both of us to be that critical of that match, it shows how bad the booking was for that match. And it really shows that, like, that should have been Samoa Joe. That was all Samoa Joe's match to win. As a matter of fact, I'd probably put that one, even though it wasn't a title match, I'll put that one up there with, you know, the match years ago with Booker T and Triple H, when Booker T should have went over Triple H years ago. I think it's almost at that level. Like, Samoa Joe, and I know this is not going to be Samoa Joe's last chance. I mean, he's going to SmackDown. The top tier of SmackDown all are great competitors for someone like Samoa Joe. So yeah. I think that he's going to fare just fine in SmackDown. I'm not worried about him, but I think that the momentum to push him over as, you know, somebody, not even a top contender, but just somebody who's dangerous, was lost with having him lose to Roman Reigns in that match.
And having him lose to Brock that bad when he faced him at Fastlane. And, like, every high position match that Joe has been in, it's like he's right there. He should have won. We wanted him to win. He needed the win, but it's like, we're going to dangle the carrot in front of you. Oh, you got to be quicker than that. That's how they're doing them.
Yeah, I mean, all right, so this match kind of was one of the things that kind of sparked a question that I asked in the Game Runners earlier today. And, you know, once again, if you guys don't follow Game Runners, go ahead and follow Game Runners. Another shameless plug. So I gave a scenario. And my scenario was not a trigger post. It was not one to try to attack Roman Reigns, so to speak. But this is more so with speaking to a lot of what quote-unquote fans say they want. So I gave them the option of picking one just to see what would happen. So the scenario goes, if you had to pick, what would you choose? So I gave the example, A, Dolph Ziggler becomes a main event guy and wins either the Universal WWE Championship. Evidently, since he's on Raw, I would say the Universal Championship. And he wins it by beating Roman Reigns clean. And he remains a top guy for the rest of his career until he leaves WWE. So that's scenario A. Scenario B, CM Punk returns. They still chant CM Punk after all these years. So I felt like I had to put CM Punk in this whole scenario. So CM Punk returns and main events the next two WrestleManias. Now, this is not quote-unquote saying that this is like CM Punk being a top guy. He could or couldn't be a top guy. He could or couldn't be champion. He doesn't even necessarily have to be champion. Just the one thing that CM Punk, quote-unquote, fans say that he never got to do was main event WrestleMania. So I said, okay, CM Punk gets to come back. He main events the next two WrestleManias. Not only does he main event the next two WrestleManias, he main events one against Daniel Bryan, the other against AJ Styles. So that's option 2. Option 3. Now, this wasn't even really to bash Roman because this is more so to speak to the guys who everyone said that they love the Shield. So I said option C, the Shield main events WrestleMania next year as a triple threat for the world title, for the Universal title. Roman remains a mid-carder after this match, only competing for the U.S. and IC titles for the rest of his career. And just for the hell of it, I said Jinder Mahal becomes a top main event heel. So out of those three scenarios, Lady Great One, which one would you pick in this situation?
Okay, so I had to go back and look on it myself because I didn't get a chance to really, really think about this. But in all honesty, I'm looking at this and I'm actually going to have to go with CM Punk there.
Okay.
I think personally, I was a fan of Punk. Yeah, at times he tended to be a little bit on the lazy side, like he was like not quite invested in a couple of those matches. But the fact that his mic work can carry a lot of the slack there. And yes, Punk never did get a chance to main event WrestleMania because he was there during the time of Taker, where Taker was main event and everything. But still, look, take it back on the flip side, Brock is main event and everything. So only this could happen if he beats Brock for the title, because they're clearly making it a point to demolish CM Punk's title by Brock.
Mm-hmm.
They take real life, and the truth is stranger than fiction, that's for sure. Have him come back after Brock. I mean, they had a brief stint of feud, like who's the true Heyman guy there, and CM Punk didn't really need Paul Heyman, but it was very entertaining in Brock's absence. I will give you that much. And yeah, I'll definitely go on with B there. And this is not because I'm bashing Roman or anything like that, but I have to take this into consideration too. When you talk about the mid-card title, some of the best and most memorable people, I'll give you one right now. Roddy Piper was never anything higher than a mid-card champion. And he is one of the most over people ever in WWE. Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, Roddy Piper, Ricky Steamboat, Mr. Perfect. You know, the list goes on. The mid-card championship is prestige.
Exactly.
It's prestige. And people look at it like it's a demotion nowadays. I'm like, an Intercontinental champion is still supposed to be someone who's somewhat of an all-time great. You know, and Shawn Michaels, before he ever got a chance to be world champion Shawn Michaels, he was already cementing his legacy as a legend just by his runs that he had as Intercontinental champion.
Look at Chris Jericho. 9-time.
Another example. The Miz.
8-time.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
Yes, both of them have had world championship titles. So yeah, I mean, but then again, you shoot back to the mid card, and that's why when they were basically using it as like just a smudge, Miz said, no, I'm going to bring the prestige back to this title. And he did. And the mid-card titles have been way more entertaining than any of Brock's 400-plus day title reigns. Bank on it. Bank on that, because I've not been impressed with Brock's title run. Not at all.
Absolutely. If I'm going to pick one of these scenarios, because I never answered the question myself, I just put it out there, and I think we've got probably, if not 80 comments already, probably at around 80 comments on this post. But I asked this question, and I was accused of this being, like a trigger post, or, this is a loaded question. And it was not really a loaded question, but it somewhat was a loaded question. So I will admit partially it was loaded. But the reason why it was loaded was to see exactly what people would say as their explanations. One, if people would, and it made me want to see what was stronger. Are people's actual wants for others to succeed stronger than their unwants for Roman to succeed? A. And B, because every time we speak about Roman Reigns, it gets so much feedback. I wanted to see how many people were going to cling to just me talking about Roman Reigns in these scenarios. Now, let me break something down to you. In all three of those scenarios, I only mentioned Roman Reigns' name twice out of those three options. And what makes it even funnier is that none of those answers were anything to take spotlight off of Roman Reigns. But people acted as if that was what I was doing, and it sparked a huge debate there, which took the topic off of the whole scenario as a whole. And that's one of the reasons why I say that Roman Reigns needs to stay in the spotlight. Because no matter how many times I mention him, what scenario it is, Roman Reigns is somebody that's going to be talked about. And this is why he still holds his spot in WWE right now. No matter what Roman Reigns does, no matter who he goes against, whether he's going against a title, someone with a title or not, he is always the topic of discussion. And thus, he is always a moneymaker, and he will never lose his position in the company. But for a long story short, my answer to this question was A. The reason why I said A, because I feel like Dolph Ziggler is underutilized. I have felt like that for a long time. Him becoming a main event guy doesn't take anybody else out of the spotlight. And when I said beating Roman Reigns clean, all I mentioned was one match. That one match can be over. Roman Reigns can still be a top guy and have won multiple world titles. But only people saw that as an opportunity to say that I was trying to push Roman Reigns out of the title picture when it had nothing to do with it. Option B never mentioned Roman Reigns at all. All I said was CM Punk was going to return and main event 2 WrestleManias. He doesn't even have to be a full-timer. CM Punk could be a part-timer. Roman Reigns can still be a top guy during this time frame. I just didn't mention him. And then in the third option, instead of mentioning him losing the match, Roman Reigns very well could have won the triple threat that I'm talking about in this option. And then after he lost, maybe the next night or the week after that, he goes to the mid-card division and fights for mid-card titles for the rest of his career. He's already won at that point if he does win the 4 world champions. So he's already cemented to be, a legend outside of his career. Even if he isn't a Hall of Famer, he's already going to be a legend because of the amount of titles he's won. All of the Shield are Triple Crown champions. So, if Roman Reigns did not win another heavyweight title for the rest of his career, what would that hurt?
Not a damn thing.
It wouldn't hurt anything because Roman Reigns has won 3 of them already. He's won 3 world titles. Yeah. He's a Triple Crown champion.
He's a Grand Slam, actually.
He's a Grand Slam champion. His career is cemented. Yeah. The same for the other 2 members of the Shield.
Same for Dean.
Same for Dean, same for Seth. They're Grand Slam champions. These are Triple Crown champions. None of these guys can win. They can go without winning a world title for the rest of their careers. They're already cemented in WWE history.
Agreed. I completely agree. No matter how this conversation goes, as you just said, it always falls back to Roman. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks right back on him. Either you love him or you hate him, his name is still coming out of your mouth. Once he becomes irrelevant, once you stop talking about him, then maybe he'll fade into obscurity. But if as long as you cheer or you boo, you're giving some sort of reaction, and that's all they want. How many years have people yelled, "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks. Let's go Cena, Cena sucks"? Has John Cena faded into obscurity yet? No. Nope. Why? We're still talking about him. And when was his last match? A bogus, thrown together match for Greatest Warrior Rumble where he needed a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, he got a job to The Undertaker. What?
I was going to say, and this is the question that I always ask as well. When is booing anybody? I don't care how hard you boo, how loud you boo, what do you say? You can say Roman Reigns' mom sucks for all I care. But when has booing anybody in WWE ever gotten them demoted and de-pushed?
Never.
Ever.
It's a reaction.
It's just a reaction. The most that you can do. Yeah, the most you can do for booing Roman Reigns is he can become heel from it.
No, it never worked on Cena. Roman is not Cena, but it never worked on Cena. And they booed the brakes off of him. Every week, people were standing up and leaving when Cena came out. They're doing the same thing to Roman. All it is just recycling itself. Mm-hmm. You might not say he's the same person. No, he's not the same person. But guess what? You're treating him exactly the same. All the same shit you did at Cena is the same stuff you're doing right now for Roman. Mm-hmm. It's just recycling itself. It's just a vicious cycle that's going to continue. John Cena's still there. And guess what? He's not going away anytime soon. He might be a part-timer, but if somebody really wants this golden shovel, guess what? They're going to get it, because next thing you know, you're going to hear, dim, 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 dim. I mean, come on now. Imagine. Let's fast forward a good, let's go to 2015. John Cena's been gone since 2020. Let's just say that was his last run. He's been gone for 5 years. John Cena is now pushing 50. All of a sudden, you're going to hear, dim, 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 the crowd's going to go insane. You know why? Because it's John Cena. Same thing that it did for Goldberg when he came back. Crowd's going to go bananas over it. Same thing happens. Guess what? Roman is going to be the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
Bank on that, too.
Absolutely. I mean, there's really, once again, I'll say it. I've said it before. I've said it again. I'll say it again. There's really not a huge difference with Roman Reigns from any other guy that's been the face of the company, so to speak. The face of the company. Part of it is going to be the male demographic. The internet fans are going to hate them. They hated John Cena. They hated Randy Orton, and Randy Orton wasn't even really quote unquote the face of the company. He was, he was one of the top guys, but John Cena was thoroughly the top dog. They booed those guys. The only guys that were the top guys in the company that have ever been cheered as heel or face religiously were maybe The Rock and Stone Cold. But Hogan, as big of a star as Hogan was, as big as he is in wrestling history, if you listen to someone that grew up in the Hogan era for real, and watched his wrestling, they will tell you how many people booed Hulk Hogan back in the day as the champion. Hulk Hogan wasn't always someone that was supremely over. It was his movie star appeal that really made him make wrestling bigger than what it was. But as far as his in-ring ability, Hogan got booed. Hogan got booed out of the building a lot of times before he even once thought about turning heel. But it didn't knock him off of his status as the top guy in the company. Why? Because he brought viewership. Because he sold tickets. Because he sold merchandise. Now, Roman Reigns is not on that level. He's not on Hogan level. He's not on Rock level. He's not on Cena level yet. But the characteristics that are behind it are not any different from any guy that's been a top guy. And a lot of people talk about CM Punk and that he should have been a top guy. The reason why CM Punk was never a top guy in the WWE is because CM Punk, the face, was not great. And I'm going to admit that now. CM Punk as the face was not great in WWE. CM Punk as a heel was probably one of the best heels ever. And even though his character was great, no heel has ever been the face of the company as a heel. You are not going to be the face of the company as a heel. You're not going to be making wishes out there as a heel. Okay?
Agreed.
You're not going to be kissing babies and, taking pictures with kids in the front row as a heel. If you got gimmicks like the Straight Edge Society, You're dropping pipe bombs left and right, things, saying stuff like that. Of course, fans that are in this generation are going to love you. We love heels in this generation. Everybody loves a good heel, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be the face of the company because you're that over as a heel. And with that, unless you have any other comments on that, I'm going to end Backlash on that note because, like I said, once I get started to talking about something else, I will go on and on forever.
Well, I do the same thing.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and end the discussion on Backlash on that one, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into my final thought.
All right.
And my final thought of the night is going to go to none other than the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It's not going to go towards a single superstar this week. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view is coming up. One of my favorite pay-per-views. We're going to talk about it on a future show on some of our predictions. We've already got some guys that have qualified already. But first of all, the Money in the Bank is one of my favorite pay-per-views. I can't wait to see who's going to win. But I think this is the first time in years that we're going to see a Money in the Bank pay-per-view that's not going to feature somebody who's already a top guy other than maybe Roman Reigns. So with that being said, the odds will slightly go more towards a new WWE champion versus one that we've already had, or a new Money in the Bank winner versus anybody that's already been a heavyweight champion.
Except one person. I have to throw The Miz in there because what he did for the IC title, that's just enough. That's Money in the Bank right there itself. He's won Money in the Bank, and he cashed it in successfully, and he became champion off of that. So definitely look out for the general of The Miz right there. Wanted to put that in there.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And with that being said, you can go ahead and give your final thought as well.
My final thought is to all of our fans and all of our supporters. I spoke on this briefly, but no matter how hard you cheer, how loud you boo, the best thing that I could ever teach you is silence is golden. If you go out there week after week, and when Roman or whoever it is that you don't like comes out there on that stage, comes across that arena, you hear that music hit, shut up. That silence is the killer of what you are seeking. But in the world where heels are everything, you don't hear Tommaso Ciampa come out. All you hear is a sea of boos, and that, my friend, is true natural heat. And that is my final thought.
Yes, Tommaso Ciampa. Nice. Ending the show on Ciampa. Well, that's all that we have for this week for this episode of Marking Out Amongst Friends. Make sure that you catch us on our new YouTube page. If you're on YouTube, search us under Marking Out Amongst Friends. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the video, or subscribe to the page, like the videos, comment. If you got things that you love about the show, comment what you love about the show. If you got things that you don't like about the show, mouth off for what you don't like about the show. I don't care what you say about us. You know what I'm saying? Anything is compliments to me. All publicity is good publicity. Not only on YouTube, you can follow us on Twitch. You can listen to us on Player FM. You can listen to us on iTunes. You can listen to us on Google Play. We're everywhere. You ain't never there. And with that being said, this is your boy Jay Reddy, Marking Out Amongst Friends, out.
Bye.